If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your jiu-jitsu, judo, or MMA journey. That's fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about RŌL TV. If you're looking to take your jiu-jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then RŌL TV has you covered. RŌLAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or a more advanced student, RŌL TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. This helps us bring you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. In this conversation, Thomas's guest discusses the importance of problem solving and pattern recognition in jiu-jitsu, reflects on the evolution of jiu-jitsu, the significance of community and brotherhood, and the role of grit and commitment in achieving success. He also shares his personal stories and insights on parenting, finding purpose, and the responsibilities of instructors in guiding students, highlighting the value of lifelong learning and mentorship. Here's the RŌL Radio with a jiu-jitsu and judo black belt and the head instructor and owner of 11 Elevation Jiu Jitsu in Wrightwood, California, Chad Keel.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live. Chad, welcome to the show. Welcome to RŌL Radio. How are you, sir? How was your morning?
Very good. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here with you guys.
Interesting start to all of this. We had some technical difficulties we were able to overcome. But it always situations like this, I feel like always create an interesting dynamic and interesting environment where we have to fix things. We have to solve problems. And that's what life is all about, isn't it?
It is. It's a lot like an IQ test, recognizing the patterns and being able to solve the patterns, pattern recognition and problem solving. We did that, to reach this point. So it was great.
Do you feel like that's an easy thing to do for people?
I don't know if it's an easy thing for all people. I've really been obsessed for the last couple of years with IQ scores. So that's why I kind of brought that up, because it's very similar. Problem solving and pattern recognition is definitely a trait of a black belt, because that's what we have to do to get good at jiu-jitsu, right? So I think that all high-level grapplers, to some degree, are good at that. Absolutely.
Why do you think it's such a crucial or critical skill, especially for a black belt?
Well, I think by blue belt, purple belt, you've probably seen a lot of jiu-jitsu, right? So what separates a purple belt from a black belt? I really think it's the ability to recognize patterns, and you see those patterns and those doorways open, and you have the timing to go through those doorways. That's really purple belt to black belt, right? Is recognizing the patterns. You should see the patterns, recognize them, and then have the timing to go through them before the pattern changes and the door shuts.
I often say that, this all sounds simple. It's really almost stupid simple. And yet there is a very small percentage people who get to that level, get to that point. Is it the amount of time, effort? Is it really hard, or are we impatient? Why is this so simple yet not so many do?
It's normally because somebody's holding on to something that's very shiny. It seems like the right thing, but that thing is holding them back from the pattern recognition, right? So it's like, I have this technique. It's an armbar from mount. I believe that this is the technique that's going to make me a world champion or whatever, right? The white belt thinks that, and they hold on to that, but they let everyone pass their guard. They need to focus on guard retention. They need to focus on something completely different, but they're completely focused on something that's not even relative to the situation. right? So if we were just completely focused on what we were going to say in the podcast and not how to solve the technical issues to get to the podcast so that we could talk, we would have never achieved this goal. So we had to focus on what was right in front of us and not like the shiny thing at the end.
Why is that shiny thing such a huge distraction in your mind?
Because we feel in our hearts and our soul that this is the thing that we need to be successful. So we would do anything to hold on to it.
But wait a minute. So let me stop you. Let me challenge that thought. Okay, so let's just say I'm a brand new person. I come into the class. I've been on the mat for a month, maybe 6. I mean, doesn't matter. And I come to the class with a purpose of learning this thing from somebody else.
Yes.
Yet I am unwilling to let go of what I have in order for me to listen to what somebody else is telling me. I feel like that is the obstacle. It's not that we are not interested or unwilling to get there. Often we arrive, but we are so, what's the word I'm looking for? Stubborn, maybe? I don't know. Like we feel we know better than the person who's been doing this for 20, 30, or who knows how many years.
Okay. So great point. So imagine this, right? I'm telling the white belt who just walked in, okay, I want you to focus on guard. But then he watches me fight and he sees me getting a takedown going to the top and then getting the armbar from the mount. So he's looking, his eyes, what he sees visually is takedown, mount, get the armbar. He's learned the mounted armbar. And then the coach is telling him, no, don't focus on any of this crap. Focus on being on your back and retaining your guard. So it's like what they see and like the input that's coming in is to do a certain thing, but then they're hearing something completely different and it doesn't seem like the proper result. So it could be very confusing.
And I would imagine that the digital world and social media and the gazillion of instructionals that might be available everywhere, none of this helps with the situation of staying focused, probably, right?
No, it doesn't. That's really, exactly. You scroll, you see the next technique, you save it, right? And then like you're focused on that regardless of what the coach is teaching that day. You know, you're just waiting to spar to like try that new flashy technique you saved on Instagram Reels, and it's okay. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's the, I think, dilemma for many these days.
Yeah.
Do you feel like jiu-jitsu was easier from that perspective 20 years ago or 30 years ago?
Absolutely. We didn't have anybody posting content like that when I was doing jiu-jitsu. I thought my sensei had all the knowledge inside of his head, and there was no other way for me to get that knowledge but to just come to class and listen to him. I think a lot of people were probably in that same book. My sensei read a lot of books. Like he had a lot of instructional type books back then, and he would look through them like encyclopedias of jiu-jitsu or, like half guard. It'd be a book, not a BJJ instructional. And I'd just see him in the office. He'd be looking through those books. I never even opened one to look in it. And I worked in his office and the books are right there. I just waited for him to teach it. So yeah, completely different. And it's weird having gone through and learned that way and now being an instructor, and, students kind of have the mindsets that they're teaching themselves. I don't know if you've kind of felt that, but a lot of students think that they are teaching themselves, and that's fine because in a lot of ways it's possible nowadays to do that. So you're kind of, we're in a role that's different than when I learned.
Yeah, most definitely. 100% agree with you. The function of an instructor, coach, or even a leader in a jiu-jitsu academy is very different than it was 20 or 30 years ago. Very, very different. I shared this story on the show many times, but I remember being a white belt and flipping through books like what you are describing, and envision 4 different pictures of technique per page, right? And I remember sitting with a group of guys and we scratching our heads. How did he get from number 1 to number 2? Like, it doesn't make sense. The stimulation that took place back then to create the interpretation of what we need to do. And then we were sitting there for hours trying things, and then frustration and all that. And then we finally figured it out. And I was like, whoa, whoa, this is it. Do you feel like that is taking away from the experience that we have today for the students?
Man, it's very much like the old school or the new modern school way of thought, where I'm very much in jiu-jitsu to produce high-level athletes that win. I mean, that's what I'm in it for. I'm not in it for the money. I'm 100% into producing like high-level players. And so I don't think it's taking away from it. I think that somebody who's stuck in the egotistical kind of role of like, I wanted all the power and it's been taken away from me because now it's kind of open sourced, and that bothers them and they don't know how to be a leader within that world. I think that I could understand that mindset. Like they feel like everything's slipping away from them. I don't feel that way. Like yesterday, Tuesday, I taught a gi class right afterwards. I'm like, hey guys, I just bought the new Craig Jones instructional on Octopus 2.0. Right after this class, I'm going to play the instructional on the TV and we're just going to sit back and watch, someone else teach. And then we're all just going to drill. And I was just a student in the class watching the TV, drilling with one of my favorite brown belt instructors when everyone else is just watching Craig Jones. So I have no problem saying, hey, I don't have to be the guy. Let's flip on a BJJ Fanatics instructional and watch Craig Jones teach right now, So I like that I could have Craig Jones pop into my school at any time via a TV or anyone else that I want, and I could just give them kind of the reins.
Well, that's the true leadership, at least in my mind, the ability of knowing when to step back and become a student, become the one that is receiving the information versus always being the one who teaches the information. I mean, that's what true leaders do, don't they?
I agree. I'm a student forever. I know I'll live my entire life and I won't make a fingernail scratch on what I could potentially learn of the totality of jiu-jitsu. Like I'm just never going to get there. You know what I mean? So we do our best, but jiu-jitsu is so like all-encompassing that there's no way you can master it. There's just no way.
So now
we'll do our best. Sorry.
So now somebody's listening to this and say, well, wait a minute. If I cannot accomplish anything or get grasp on all of this, why in the freaking world would I even start? I mean, it's almost like an oxymoron here.
Yeah. So these are the things that give you the most joy and success, right? I'm also a highly religious person. I read the Bible every day. I don't think I could ever master knowing everything that I can about God or the Bible. But it's a rabbit hole that I'll go into for the rest of my life. And that actually gets me excited. It's not the flip of it where it's like karate has, or even judo has 40 throws. You know what I mean? Are there more? Yes. But hey, master these 40 throws. You don't even master 40 to really be considered a master. Let's be honest, 3 or 4. So can you master certain techniques within jiu-jitsu? Yes. Can you build large funnels to almost roll with anyone in the world and bring them into that technique that you are a master of? Yes, but you can't master everything. It's impossible. So we inevitably end up specializing in certain parts of jiu-jitsu, and what is great is I meet you and you're going to specialize in a different part. So you're going to have a lot to teach me. I'm going to have a lot to teach you. And it's always like that when you meet other high-level practitioners. You have so much to learn, So you end up listening and being a student the rest of your life. I feel like that's more exciting than, claiming you're a master of something.
Yeah, it definitely is a different beast, especially if you interact on a regular basis with people you've never met, or perhaps this is, something new. I feel like anytime we have people guest for seminars, I'm a new person. Like I'm like, whoa, like teach me. First of all, I want to step away from the being center of attention for even a couple hours, but then stimulating our minds is so refreshing, isn't it?
Absolutely, man. And, I think if you feel like you've ever mastered jiu-jitsu, then go start judo. And if you feel like you've mastered both of those somehow, I don't know how you did it, but congrats to you, go start wrestling, and then start to combine wrestling, judo, and jiu-jitsu in your own personal way. Because if you are not mixing wrestling and jiu-jitsu and judo, you're going to fall behind, in my perspective and my kind of understanding of jiu-jitsu and where we're heading right now, guard is just being shamed. And now people, what I think is, and what I've had so much success in my jiu-jitsu is like when people pass, I don't turn into them. I turn away, and I get up to turtle and I turn back into that front headlock position and I reshoot on my shot, or I peek out, I duck out. I don't just lay on my back. So I'm playing like less guard now, which is crazy. I call it a secondary guard. So I'm playing guard. You're within this perspective. I'll do everything I can to keep you within my guard. But if you pass out to the outside, I'm going turtle, man. And you're going to have to wrestle and scramble with me now. I'm not going to do like just let you pass and then turn in and get my guard back. I'm kind of over that. Sorry,
do you
we kind
think
of got
that
off
comes
subject, but it's,
no
it's evolving. Jiu-jitsu's evolving.
So is jiu-jitsu evolving, or are you maturing in a sense?
Great question. I think that for a long time, judo, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling were kept in their own lanes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're all almost exactly the same thing, which they're just rules that define it that make it different.
100%.
Now, jiu-jitsu, you could do all of wrestling, all of judo in jiu-jitsu. You cannot do all of judo or all of jiu-jitsu in wrestling. You cannot do all of wrestling or all of jiu-jitsu in judo. So jiu-jitsu is the only one that allows you to do all three, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now people are saying, well, if I could do all three in jiu-jitsu, then I'm going to get really good at wrestling. I'm going to do high-level wrestling in jiu-jitsu because people are going to be lacking there. Or I'm going to do high-level takedowns, judo, in jiu-jitsu because people will be lacking there, right? So we're seeing more of this, like these people crossing over, and we're seeing more gyms that are choosing to have a high-level wrestling program, a high-level judo program, and a high-level jiu-jitsu program, compete in each sport individually, and then have their students mix them together individually how they see fit to apply to their games. So, for example, if you were shooting a double leg on me and I snapped you down and then I just turned around to your back, in jiu-jitsu, there's no points for that.
Mm-hmm.
And you would almost prefer that because you don't want me on your neck. You don't want me getting into a front headlock position or anything like that. So go to my back because I'll keep the hooks off and I'll get out, right? In wrestling, if I snapped you down and I spun around you, you just gave me 3 points. So that's like a huge no. In wrestling, you will not see that. They will do everything to stop you from spinning around to the back. Now, if you take that same point structure and put it into your head as a jiu-jitsu artist and start telling yourself, I'm not letting people get around on my back because I'm not giving up the 3, even though the 3 are not in our sport, you defend that 3, you become a more exciting jiu-jitsu fighter because you're not letting people get to the back. You're facing that front headlock. You're not afraid of being choked, and you're reshooting, you're retaking them down. So you could see how putting that 3 points, that imaginary 3 points in your head as a jiu-jitsu fighter makes you more exciting and makes you wrestle through more. Also, if I'm down in the turtle position, you're on top of me, I should be trying to get up, turn around, and face you. In wrestling, you get a point for that. In jiu-jitsu, you don't. So you'd see if I was turtle and you're on my back, well, I don't want you to take my back. I'll just lay on my back and I'll just play guard. Nah, none of that crap. We don't want that. If I'm turtle, you're on my back, I'm standing up, I'm turning around, and I'm getting back into the fight because that's what true self-defense would do. And then that's also an imaginary point for jiu-jitsu, but in wrestling, it's awarded. It's a 1 point for escape. So I think if you add that 3 for the turnaround to the back and the 1 for the escape into jiu-jitsu, it makes jiu-jitsu just like a whole different sport. It's a totally different sport. And I think more people are catching on to that. They're adding that 3 for the getting around to the back, and they're adding the 1 for the escape. And that'll change your whole game.
Do you feel like that in the future, and I'm thinking 10, 15, 20, maybe 50 years from now, maybe we are long gone by then.
Yeah.
These sports will combine in a sense where there will be only one.
I personally would love that, but it would have to be this like negotiation, right? And like wrestlers would like to see the 3 and the 1 added. They want to see that because that's fair for them, right? And then I think judo and wrestling would also like to see some sort of pin. Like if I get you down and I have you controlled, right? That should be also some sort of win. I think they would like that too. That way all sports can kind of mesh. That way somebody with a high level wrestling background could say, well, dude, if I take you down and I'm in side control or north-south, I'm just holding you there and you can't get out, like, you lost. I think they would cross over a lot more, right? And there'd be a lot more crossing over. So, anyways, do I think that? Maybe. I don't want to see jiu-jitsu become an Olympic sport. I know that, but
you just touched on a very sensitive topic.
Yeah, well, like, because combining them would ultimately, we would face that hurdle too, right? Because they are Olympic sports. Wrestling and judo are Olympic sports, and they have these boards of these people that aren't high-level practitioners. Let's be honest; they're politicians. They're politician martial artists that get up to these high boards and they vote on things that, like, a real high-level practitioner would not vote that way. So it changes the sport.
It certainly does. I mean, agree or disagree, it doesn't matter what the view is, but it's certain that once you get to that level of exposure, things do change. They do. And that would be a natural consequence of what would happen to jiu-jitsu as a sport if it was to happen. I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah, I completely agree, sir.
You've been on the mat for a long time. You remember your very first day?
Yep, I do.
Do tell. Why did you step on the mat?
I wrestled in high school. Never really had the grades to be out there officially on the team, but I was in the wrestling room with the wrestlers, and I'm being told that, hey, you have a lot of potential, but you got to fix your grades up and everything. I wasn't a bad student. I was just like, school wasn't my main priority. I think I was more about sports and dirt bikes at that time. And I'm 17. My mom opens a newspaper ad and she sees this thing. It says like jiu-jitsu, like grappling, package deal, get your gi and everything for this price. And my mom said, hey, why don't you take your brothers to this and you'll get to continue to wrestle, because the wrestling's over for me now. I'm never going to get a chance to actually officially wrestle for that team. So she goes, this is grappling. This seems like something, you would like to do. If you take your brothers, if you drive your brothers, I'll pay for all three of you guys to go. I said, okay. Drove over there. This gym was just starting. So everyone who came on that first day was a first day member. So that's actually like a really rare kind of experience now looking back on it. So the whole team starts at the same time. I remember getting armbarred a bunch of times because I was trying to cross face from the closed guard on top. So I'm on top in my sensei's guard, and I'm trying to grab the back of his neck, and he just keeps armbarring me. Months into it, I remember me and this other guy, Tyru, we got our first stripes. We were the first two within that group to get their stripes. He was in his 30s. I'm 17, so I was stoked, that I got recognized and to get a stripe with a 30-year-old. Tyru trains with me now at my gym, even all these years later. He trains with me.
What year is this?
2005.
2005.
Yeah, I graduated 2006, so it has to be 2005.
So more than 20 years ago.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever reflect on you two starting at the literally same day, and you still on the mat together? I mean, that's rare.
Yeah, it's very rare, and we had a long time separated because I ended up going to another school and everything, So you know how it goes. And we come together when I'm already a black belt and have a gym, and he comes back in, and I recognize he didn't know it was me. That's another thing. He comes into my gym not realizing that he's coming in to the dude who got his first stripe together,
Wait. All right. So we gotta talk about this, because this makes it even more spicy. I like it.
Yeah.
So he walks into the academy. Do you know it's him? Do you recognize him right away or no?
No. I just I keep looking at him deeply, because here's the story. He's a 30-year-old man. I'm 17 at the time when I'm training. And to me, he was this huge, roided out guy with muscles that my brothers are younger. They're 15 and 12. They're going with me. So when we fought Tyru, it was like, dude, you were fighting the biggest, baddest monster like Goliath straight out of the Bible, okay? When Tyru comes in later in life, he's shorter than me. He's shorter than me. He's not like this big, strong guy. So I'm like, that can't be Tyru. Tyru was 7 feet tall. You know what I mean? Had huge biceps and everything. It was like the fish story. He was just like a normal sized guy. But I kept looking at him. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Tyru, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, where do I know it? Chad, oh my gosh. And then we realized it, you know? But, and I told him that story. I'm like, bro, I remember you being 7 feet tall. What happened, you know? So that was all in my mind, you know? But it was a good reunion.
Isn't it interesting how the perspective changes as we age and as we evolve? I mean, life is interesting, isn't it?
I just remember feeling the man strength as a teenager, feeling the man strength, and probably just that was all the imagination I needed, you know, just ran with it.
Yeah. Did that feel good to connect after all these years and kind of like, wait, yo, like we were there that one day, we got a stripe together. I mean, like we used to hang together, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. His son trains with me now and his grandson. So
that's amazing.
And his granddaughter. So they all train. And yeah, it's just, you know, it's one of those things. Jiu-jitsu is a small world. He kind of dropped off a little bit. So he's a blue belt still, you know, because he stopped and he's getting back into it. And he should be where I'm at. Absolutely. You know what I mean? If he would have stuck with it. So there's a little bit of that he probably sees, you know, but he's now like, well, now that this happened, like this synchronicity, like I can't stop now. I got to see it through. Like you're the dude that's going to give me the black belt. Like, yeah, man, like, you know, we should both have it together. So you better just stick with it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I love stories like this. We need stories like this. It's a huge motivator for all of us. So let's go back to a little bit. You and both of your brothers go on that day one. What's the relationship like between you three? Do you guys fight like brothers do, or is it a peaceful childhood?
Me and my next one down, we always used to fight. But we always would fight together too. Like we'd fight with each other, but if you fought one of us, then all of us fought you. You know, like we were very close in that way. I actually have 3 brothers, so there's 4 of us all together, and my dad kind of raised us that way. I remember I got beat up once. I came home and one of my brothers wasn't beat up, and he said, "Why aren't you beat up? Why are your other brothers beat up?" And he says, "Oh, it happened so fast. I didn't get a chance to react." My dad said, "Well, I'll just tell you this. Next time your brothers come beat up and you're not beat up, I'll beat you up. So don't worry about reacting, you know? I'll get you when you come home." And my brother always reacted from that point forward. So we're very much like, you know, that type of crew. But we don't ever fight, you know, as adults, ever.
The reason why I'm asking is because when we step on a mat, we build the brotherhood. We build very close personal relations with complete strangers, right? At the same time, we oftentimes stand up for each other in that sense. And it's friendly, it's safe. Like, I mean, we are not here to hurt each other, but there is a sense of raw survival behind jiu-jitsu. I mean, end of the day, we are trying to strangle each other. Like that's unhidden, and anybody who thinks otherwise, I think, is fooling themselves. I mean, if you let them, they will. So I'm curious how that translated, that little brotherhood, you know, bickering, you know, or just having each other's back. How did that convert into being on the mat with your brothers?
Oh man, we're just, you know, we always just kind of thought of ourselves. We always had an advantage, right? Having four boys in our family. Like I told you, if like one brother kind of had a problem with someone, it was kind of like you versus all of us type deal. Because our dad put that in our head, fair or not. So after jiu-jitsu, man, we thought we were, especially at a young age, we both thought we were just like invincible. I feel like it brought us closer together. And then I had my own humbling experiences too, where you realize like, hey man, you know, the biggest thing you could always do is just be able to use your words to get out of any sort of like situation. And I think me and my brothers are all at that point now, which is great. But I think it drew us closer. It made us have a way deeper bond. And we've always just had that kind of survival instinct to kind of like defend each other. But I do recognize that a lot of people that come into jiu-jitsu, if they didn't have that with brothers, they definitely get that out of jiu-jitsu. Because what makes a brother really a brother is that you sweat together, you bleed together, you cry together. And in jiu-jitsu, you will sweat, you'll bleed, and you'll cry together. So it'll form just as deep as the bond as like a blood brother would, right? So I see a lot of people go through the brotherhood that I went through as a boy in jiu-jitsu and reach that, which they never, maybe an only child, maybe they only had sisters, and they're like, man, I have a good camaraderie, like a good community of men, and try to like get more people in just based on that, like maybe self-defense isn't what they're looking for, maybe it has nothing to do with that, but it's just like, dude, the community, the brotherhood that we have as jiu-jitsu practitioners, it's you'd have to flash all the way back to like being in a tribe to have something like we have,
It is very much so tribal. I agree. I agree. There's something. Why do you think that happens? Well, how come? I feel like jiu-jitsu communities in general, for lack of a better term, these groups that we bond and we find create. Why are they so much stronger than, I don't know, checkers or swimmers? Baseball. I mean, look, baseball, soccer player, football, very physical sport. You need to be a team. You need to stand up for each other. But many people I talk to, they argue that the cohesiveness in jiu-jitsu is by far stronger. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, without being too politically correct, I have a friend he plays devil's advocate. Everything I say, he wants to like, well, what about this?
You got one of those too,
are we friends? Yeah, are we friends or are we not friends? So we're always arguing. And I think that I tell him all the time, hey, you could be as right as you want to be. Like you could be absolutely dead center right. But if I could beat you up and kill you, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I'm right. Because winners write history. And he hates that. He absolutely hates that. He just will not accept that as truth. He's like, no, if I'm right, I'm right. Doesn't matter if you can beat me. Doesn't matter if you can kill me. Now listen to this. Listen to that. Just keep an open mind. Keep listening. I'm going somewhere with this train of thought. In baseball, you could be way better at playing first base or hitting the ball than me, But we don't know what would really happen if me and you were to fight, right? In soccer, you could be way better as an attacker or whatever, drive the ball downfield, hit it into the net. You may be way better than me. I may not ever start. I might be a bench player. But we'll never know if I could beat you up or if you could beat me up. You know what I mean? In jiu-jitsu, we have people who are lawyers, doctors, firefighters. This level of success is defined everywhere within jiu-jitsu, but we all know who could beat up who in jiu-jitsu. That's the bond. That's the ranking order that's very much defined tribally, right? We know who the leader is. We know who could beat up who, and nothing's hidden amongst us. And as much as we think we're against each other, as soon as that random brown belt visitor comes in and taps out a couple of your white belts, bro, it is all of us versus that guy. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you can't do that in baseball. Like, you can't do that in soccer. So that's, in my opinion, that's what it's all about. Like, it doesn't matter who says what or who has the higher elevated job. It's all about what we could do here on the mat, and we all know our rank, and that's it.
Many call this like the mat is an equalizer. No matter where you come from, what background you are, what you do for a living, how much money you have, or where your past is, the mat speaks the truth, and it really exposes all the weaknesses that we have.
I agree. Perfectly said. Yeah.
Do you feel like jiu-jitsu is all about weaknesses, or is it more about strengths?
I think it's about hiding your weaknesses, and pushing your strengths forward. And as you hide those weaknesses, you should be trying to develop them and improve them so that they never do get exploited. And obviously I'm talking about weak spots in your game and strong parts in your game, right? So I think that we hide the weak parts of our game so that people don't exploit the weak parts of our game, and we push forward the strong parts of our game, and we try to implement the strong parts. Sorry if I didn't answer completely, but
that's why. No. It's look, like we said in the beginning. I don't see this as question answer. I want to pick your brain. I want to see what's inside over there. So one of the things that I learned as we were getting for this conversation, that you are a survival instructor.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, survival instructor?
If jiu-jitsu teaches you how to survive amongst other human beings, I teach you how to survive without other human beings.
Do you find correlation between these two?
Yeah. One's with human beings, one's without human beings. They're both the exact same thing.
Are there principles that bleed over between them two? And what I mean by that is the things that we do in jiu-jitsu, are they transferable into, being on your own and surviving in the real world-like situations?
Absolutely. It's pattern recognition, recognizing the patterns, going through those pathways at the certain seasons, times, and changes, the proper time to go through that doorway. It's all exactly the same, and then you're trying to simplify the process the entire time, right? So I think it's exactly the same, actually, and I think anyone who has a high level of jiu-jitsu would probably be a great survival instructor with knowledge. Obviously, you have to there's a lot of learning that goes into it. I also like being a survival instructor because I'll spend the rest of my life, just like I said before, and I'll only scratch the surface on what I can learn about nature. It's one of those you can never master it subjects. That's all I'm interested in, So I think that if you could already commit to jiu-jitsu and know that you'll never master it, then you're already kind of set up to committing to nature and realizing you'll never master it either. It's already like the exact same hobby.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued with this hunger for knowledge that you are you are speaking of, that knowing, going into these different activities or different learning patterns, and knowing that you will never get fully to understand what you are learning. I feel like many people would, and I briefly said this at the beginning, but I feel like many people would not even try. And if they do try, they will give up way, 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 way sooner than what you are describing. This pursuit of the process versus the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Well, I wrote a book called Perspective Shift. And what you just said is, I basically like the process more than the mastering kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into one of the principles of my book, which is the purpose of life is to have purpose, right? So you don't seek for your purpose or look for your purpose, because you'll never find your purpose. You can have purpose in washing dishes. If you wash your dishes with the perfect posture. Wash every single dish the most efficiently you can, while still paying attention to the timing and making it timely and efficient, right? So I could put purpose into washing dishes, and I could be the best at doing it, and I could put all my mind and all my focus into washing the dishes, so I'm not wandering off or depressed or anxious or whatever. I'm just completely focused in the task. And when I'm completely focused on the task, I'm living purposefully, and that is my purpose for that moment. So the purpose of life is just to have purpose. Have purpose when you're driving, when you're walking, when you're talking to your kids, right? And if you have purpose in all things that you do, and you're completely focused and involved and present in those things, then you're doing the absolute best at every point of your life. What else can you aim for? I used to always look for something. I was looking for something. I'd go out the door and my dad would say, "Hey, wherever you go, there you are." And I'd go, "What does that mean? What does that mean?" And you'd go, what you're looking for is looking for you. And I'd go, whoa, dude, you're trippy, that's crazy. But then I realized, what he was saying is the purpose of life is to have purpose, you don't need to go anywhere, because wherever you are is where you are. And I know that sounds just so obvious, but it's also very deep. And I had depression and anxiety early in life because I was like looking for something external. And then I just started putting purpose in all the things that I do. And I enjoy life a lot more like that, you know?
I feel a lot of people
to achieve something.
I feel a lot of people, I would even go the deeper than that. I think most people don't have purpose in their life at all. I feel like most of them live from day to day without any intent, any plan, any goal to make an impact or even change things or do things with intention.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this deep driven a life come from for you?
I think God, honestly, it's God. And yeah, I think
And
it's
then
just
do
having
tell
a good
me, how did
relationship
becoming a
with
father
God,
change
very
your
important.
jiu-jitsu, or how did it
And just
change you
seeing,
being an
like,
instructor?
you know, if all roads lead to Rome in my
It definitely
world,
changed me as a coach and as a business
all
owner,
roads
because
lead to
I just
God.
got softer.
And
I
if
used
I'm
to be,
here
it's crazy, man. I
and
used to be,
I
they
was
used to
just
call me the
constantly,
slave
like,
driver,
searching for some,
my
like,
fighters.
purpose
That was my
outside of
nickname.
myself,
And I don't know
where
if I could
I
ever go
just
back to that.
realized
Like,
that,
and
you know,
I
like I
understand
said,
and
I
I
could wash
remember it.
dishes and have
And I was
purpose.
like, I was just
could,
trying to
you
help
know,
them
I could
get
play
to
with my kids with
that point
intention and
where
purpose.
they
But
could
what
make
has
it,
You know,
changed?
if
and
you
if I
do
wasn't
jujitsu,
pushing
What
them
has
you're not
hard.
changed
truly
besides
there. You're
this
not truly
other
there. If you're
human
thinking about your job,
being,
you're doing
or
all
you know,
that,
you
how
have few
great are you
kids,
going to
but
be at jujitsu?
besides these
You know what I
human
mean?
beings
If you're at
arriving to the
jujitsu and you're
earth,
thinking about, you know,
really
what, you
fundamentally,
know, your
really
wife
nothing
cheating
much
on you or blah, 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 I don't know.
right?
You know,
Yet
you're
everything has
obviously not
changed.
getting great at jujitsu. Like, jujitsu should be a
Yeah.
spot where you escape
Yeah.
from all that. You go there and you're just focusing on
I
jujitsu.
never had a
Jujitsu
soft,
teaches
really
you how
soft
to have
side.
purpose
And
in all
then when
things in life.
these little
But if
creatures are
your
born, and
goal, if you're setting a
you
goal
got
to
to
have a
take care
black
of their
belt,
every, you know,
it's
you and
okay
your
to set
wife,
a goal as a
obviously,
black
we
belt. But I
take care of their
promise you, when you reach black belt, you will not feel
everything they
fulfilled.
need,
You will not
every
feel
need
like
that they have, we
you've
had to take
mastered
care of. And
everything.
then they become
I
little
promise
talking
you
creatures,
can
and
get
then they're
2
telling you
black
they
belts
love
like me
you, and
and
they're
get into
hugging
Judo
you,
and
and they're
Jiu-Jitsu
kissing
and
you,
think
and
you're
you're
going to
like,
be all fulfilled and,
you
like,
just melt.
everything's going to work
And
out in
that
your
kind
life.
of
And it's
spills
not going
over
to change
every other
anything
area
from
of
how
your
you
life,
feel
you
right
know?
now as a white belt.
And I
It's the
believe that's
process
the
that's going
way
to change you.
God,
Fall in love with the
you
process.
know, meant for it to be.
I don't
Is
wake up every day just like my body used
He
to
wanted
going,
us
go
to
to jujitsu and
understand
fight other
His love
full-grown
for
men.
Jesus.
Trust me, it
So
doesn't
He
say
made
that. It
us
goes, what the
parents,
heck
so
are you
that
doing?
we
Stop! I'm
realize,
beat
holy
up. I'm
crap, there
hurt.
is this
You
unbelievable
know,
love
but
that
I
you can have.
go
Because
every
if you're
single
not a
day
parent, you don't,
because
I
it's
don't,
the
you could say,
process.
you know, I love
And
my
like we were
dog, I
talking
love
about
my
strengths and
nephew,
weaknesses,
but you have no
if I'm
clue what
hurt,
love is until
I
you
could hide
birth
that
your
weakness,
child, and you're
and then
there,
I
and you
develop new
watch
strengths.
this creature
Like
grow
when
and
I'm hurt and I can't play
nurture
half
it.
guard, then guess what?
And
I'm
then
going to
you
play a
finally
different
like,
type of
oh, I
guard, or I'm
get
going
it.
to
What
play a
everybody
different type
said.
of
Oh, you've
game.
never loved
And
anything
then
like you
by the
love your
time
kids.
I
And then, so once
recover
you
from
get
that
it,
injury, I'll have a whole other
it
game
can't
in
help but
jiu-jitsu
spill
because I
to other
wasn't
areas.
playing
Now,
a
anybody you
specific type of game
associate
because I
with,
was injured. So every
you have
time
so
I'm
much love
injured,
to
my
give now, and
jiu-jitsu
so
improves
much,
if I fight through
you
it.
didn't even realize you were
But if I
capable
just
of it.
step
So,
back and I go, I'm hurt,
so yeah,
I'm
it
not going to
definitely
train.
spills over.
Like
It
we've
spilled
seen a
over for me
lot
as
of
a
people
coach,
do. Then they never
with
come
the
back.
ability to, I just got
You can't
softer.
get the black belt and
I
be
gave
that
more
type of person.
leeway. I gave
So
more.
is
You
that
got
a
to
good
be a type of
thing,
person that says, I'm
or
hurt, I'm injured, life
empathy.
is that
sucks,
a good thing,
but I'm still going to go. I'm going to
not
grab my
really?
gym
I mean,
bag,
from
I'm
one
going to
side
get in
you
the car,
say
and I'm going to go.
you were tougher on guys,
That
which
type
means
of person is the only person
there's
that
less
makes it
leeway.
black
There's
belt.
probably more
And I
responsibility,
hope
more
instructors preserve
accountability in
that.
a sense.
You know?
And now,
Oh, yeah.
now you
Yeah.
say that you have more empathy, which
Has
is
it
very
always been
important
like
from
this
a
for you?
leadership perspective too,
Purpose
right?
driven, intentional,
Yeah, I think it's
goal
good,
oriented,
because I think if
making
you
impact on
slay,
yourself.
one way more than the other, like if I just went
I think
slave
that
driver
I always
with no
imagined
empathy,
myself like
I don't
that.
think
I've
you're the
always
best
had like
coach you could be. And if
big,
I was
great
just lenient,
ideas.
no, yeah, show up to
I
practice
just
when you
never
want,
knew
do
how to
this when you
implement
want, and yeah,
them
you'll be
and
fine.
then like make
Oh,
things
I
happen for
understand. I
myself.
understand. If you have too
So
much of
what
that,
changed?
then I think also you're kind
My
of screwed as
sensei,
well. So, I think that nice balance,
What
I think that's what it's
specifically
done for
happened?
me, is
Is it
balance me
one
out a
type
little
of
bit,
event that took
which is what I
place, or
needed.
is it
You know, if you ask my wife or
continuous
anybody that
work over
is close to
a
me, my
long
family,
period of
my
time?
mom,
I mean, you're talking about
brothers,
big
sisters, they would
changes
say
in
that
life.
was a
You talked about having
good
anxiety
You were
balance.
that
and
tough,
stress was difficult, and obviously the purpose level was not the same as what you are describing today. You believe in yourself. You believe in God. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
What shifted?
So we'll just make it a short story. We don't have all day for the podcast. Really what shifted is I lived in Hawaii for a while. And when I came back from Hawaii and I came down to San Clemente down in Southern California, South Orange County, I started at Paulo Guilabel's school.
Mm-hmm.
Paulo Guilabel, he's just about to become a Coral Belt, 6th degree black belt.
Yeah, I had him on a podcast a couple years ago.
Okay, yeah. So that's my sensei, you know. I walked into his school, and I'm a white belt, and I noticed that he kind of had a crappy website. Said, hey, can I help you with your website? I would love to like help you fix up your website. I kind of helped him, and then after that, he kind of sucked me into the office role in his gym, because he was like, oh, this guy helped me, bam, put it. The office guy left at that same time. I'm working a computer job in the morning time, and I'm training jiu-jitsu at night. He sucks me into where I'm like working my computer job, going straight there, and I'm in the office from like 3 o'clock all the way to like 9 o'clock. So I work from like 6 a.m. till 2:30, and then I'm in his gym from 3 till 9. I mean, I did that forever. So jiu-jitsu is my whole life. When we were there, Paulo was really taking his gym to the new level. Like, it was going from like your normal gym to a multi-million-dollar facility. He was like, I entered into his school kind of right when he was making that jump to become more professional. And through that, we got a lot of like mastermind groups that came in and talked to Paulo, and we're like, hey, what are you doing with your sales processes? And we went to a seminar, and this guy stands up and he goes, you got to write down your goals. You got to write down your daily objectives, your monthly objectives, or say your daily, weekly, monthly objectives, your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals. You got to write them all down. You got to put them in your wallet. You got to carry them everywhere you go. So Paulo looks at me and he goes, we're going to do this. So you're going to write out all your goals. I'm going to write out all my goals. So we're going to keep them in our wallet. And if you see me anywhere, you ask me if I have my goals, and I'll see you. I'll ask you if you have yours. If we don't have our goals, we have to do 20 push-ups. And I'm like, all right. I'm like a blue belt at the time, yes, sensei, I'll do it. So I write out all my goals, and check this out. I have them framed. They're right here next to me on my desk.
Oh,
these are
holy
the goals.
crap.
Yeah, so I have them all. I wrote them. He wrote his. He sees me. I'm on a sushi date with my girlfriend at the time. She's my wife now, but at the time she was my girlfriend, and Paulo's in there. And he goes, hey, you got your goals on you? I didn't have my goals. He goes, 20 push-ups. In the middle of a sushi restaurant, I do 20 push-ups because I don't have my goals on me, right? We kept checking on each other. About like 2 years into the process, I think we stopped. Like, we fell out of like checking on each other, but I kept them in my wallet. About 5 years after that process, my wallet's getting really fat, how men do that. It's just too much crap in my wallet. And my wife's like, you got to clean out your wallet. I start cleaning it out. There's the goals all folded up. I open them. I read the goals. I had accomplished every single thing on the 1, 3, and 5 year goals. Everything. And because we were checking in on each other, holding yourself accountable, holding each other accountable, eventually we became self-accountable, and we didn't need each other to check in. We had changed the routines in our own life that we reached the goal. I reached mine, he reached his. Unfortunately, all the goals that I wrote out were 100% relative to his business, because the seminar was pertaining to his business. So I wrote out like, get him this many students, do this, do that. But still, reading all the goals, I was like, I can't believe this. Like, it all came true. So I never stopped doing that. I have another frame, goals right here. These are like my current goals, and they're written out, and that's right directly next to my computer where I work. And I look at my current goals every single day, and then I make sure. And again, if you want your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals to play out, you need to make sure that you're completing your daily objectives. If you're doing these things daily, there's no way that a 1, 3, and 5 year goal cannot be achieved, right? So all you got to do is change what you're doing daily. So Paulo, I contribute Paulo 100% at getting me to that seminar, holding me accountable, making me do those 20 push-ups. That changed the whole way that I operated in my life. From there, I was able to not just be a dreamer, but say, hey, I have this dream. I'm going to write out daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals to get to that end goal. So I write it out. I'm very structured like that now. Where before I was just like, oh, I have this, I'll just invent this or invent that. But I have just talking, man. I have no idea how I would take the first step. Now I'm a person who knows how to dream, but also how to lay out the steps to get there. And I could take a team and say, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, and then we'll all reach that finish line. I never had that structure before. So that comes from Paulo.
I mean, that story is so amazing, in my opinion. There are so many people who, one, they don't set goals at all. Number two, they don't finish them. But I think even larger group doesn't keep each other accountable to the goals that they set or somebody else asked them to set.
Blessing, man, blessing.
Why do you think it's so hard for us, especially in jiu-jitsu, to be so vague about what we are trying to do? And we talked about this extensively at the entire conversation. You know, it being purposeful, being intention driven. But goals are really, really fundamental part of this. Yes. Saying and committing that I'm going to do this in a specific amount of time. I'm going to deliver what I said. If we say it, we do it. We finish it. Why is it so hard to do it? And let me rephrase this. Why is it so easy for people not to stay committed to what they've done?
So I have 3 kids now. So I'm learning that, like, how do I produce this in my kids? And then how do I produce this in all of my students, right? All these kids that I have, I would like them all to have these character traits. So I flash back to very intentional with the way that my kids start things. If my kid was like, Dad, I want to play piano. You know, I see you playing guitar, Dad. I want to play piano. I'll learn music too. Dude, they're going to do music until they're 18. I don't care if they love it, if they hate it, if they want to quit or not. If we start something, it's 100% till the finish line. And the reason why I do that is because, and I pick very specific things like music. Are they ever going to look back at me and go, man, Dad, I hate you for making me learn how to play a music and express myself and have a hobby as an adult? No, they're never going to hate me for that. They're never going to hate me for making them get a black belt and doing jiu-jitsu until they're 18. I know that. If I make them do other things that are weird, like, hey, I want you to do like dress up little girl like a little prom girl and go like do this, that could have character effects on her later. You know, identity crisis, you know, always dressing up and being like this little like doll girl and being judged on her appearance. You know, there's other things that we could push our kid into when they don't want to do it that could be detrimental or bad for our kids. But music, man, pushing your kid into music, pushing your kid into martial arts, you don't have a choice. I picked to have you. I intentionally chose to have my children, and I'm going to develop them into the adult that I choose. They get to choose what they want to do with their kids. I'm choosing what I'm going to do with my kids. So a lot of parents let them, Dad, I want to play baseball. Play baseball, 2 weeks into it, let them quit. Dad, I want to do skateboarding. 2 weeks into it, let them quit. What happens is by the time they're adult, they've been allowed to quit so many things, try it and quitting, that they've already developed an addiction to quitting. As soon as things get hard, they quit, right? So a lot of it is it's an epidemic of people addicted to quitting is what we face here in the United States. Other countries, I've traveled the entire world. I've seen in other countries that parents choose what their kids are going to do and they make them go through it. You see like Asian cultures make lots of doctors and very successful children and stuff of that. And I'm sure their kids are going, I don't want to do this, Dad. But now they're a doctor. You know what I mean? We don't do that in America. We're so like first world that we just let all these kids choose. The kids choosing, you get called this all the time. I know. Hey, you know, my son, he's just, you know, he doesn't like, you know, being tapped out. He doesn't like that. He's just not really into it. So I think we're going to put his membership on pause, or we're going to cancel it, try something else. We'll come back. We really loved it. We really loved you. You know, how it goes.
We come back as often. Yeah. No.
you know how it goes, man. You know, and then they end up going into something like baseball where the effort is shared amongst the team and it's not all individualized on them. And they do well in these team sports, you know, afterwards. So it's just not allowing your kid to quit.
Let me run this by you, because I just had this conversation with somebody fairly recently. What's unique around jiu-jitsu is the fact that it's ongoing and never ending. It's non-seasonal. And what we are experiencing with other sports, even wrestling is a seasonal sport. There is an off season, which allows people to take a break. baseball, football, and I mean, swimming. It doesn't matter. It's like 99% of sports are seasonal, which creates this mentality of we don't have to continue doing it all the time. And it is almost contradicting to what jiu-jitsu truly stands for, which is a lifestyle. It's ongoing process, you know. And again, I don't want to be misunderstood. It's okay to take breaks, but we are continuously doing this. There is no, we're putting this on hold. Would you agree with that thought that it's almost the seasonal like environment or mental state of whether kids or adults, it doesn't matter, but we don't have pause in jiu-jitsu or grappling in general.
I completely agree. That's another thing that's playing into the psychological effect of committing to things long term, is the seasonal aspect of sports. And you know what's funny is we're seeing that get beat in the head with a hammer too. And what I mean is little league. Okay, I'm sure you've lost great kids to baseball. You know, I have too. So they go into little league, right? And it's a seasonal sport, but because they've done jujitsu and they're already they've already not mastered, but reached a higher level. Let's say gray belt as like a young kid, 11 years old. He's a gray belt. Okay. And he gets into jujitsu. He's like, oh, I'm just going to do it for the season, coach. But he goes over there, just an average kid in your gym. That kid is going to be an absolute stud star in baseball. He's going to go to All-Stars, and he's going to get all the praise over there at baseball. Who is this kid? Oh, my gosh, he's absolutely gifted. That's because, dude, he's in an individual sport like jiu-jitsu where, you know, he doesn't get to share all this effort amongst the team. So he's already an athlete. He can front roll, back roll, flip, do all these, like, crazy motor skills. He's so locked in because of it's a fight where it's like your life or his life, and he's going to go out there and take your arm before you take his. You think he's going to have a problem throwing a ball to another kid and swinging a bat where there's no combative like aspect of it? He's going to be the all-star. And then what's going to happen is you see these kids who just stay in little league, not enough. Now you got to put your kid in travel ball. You got to put your kid in pony ball. You got to put your kid in all these other things that make it not a seasonal sport, but an all year round sport. And now these kids, what they do is they're on pony ball, they're on travel ball. And then when it's little league time, these absolute stud kids who are doing it all year long come in, they play little league with these kids who are seasonal, and your seasonal kid is a bench player. Your seasonal kid ain't getting no play time because the kids who commit full all year round will always be the best. They're locked in, right? So it proves that even in a sport like baseball where you could be seasonal or you could take it to the other level and be these travel ball type kids, which I know a lot of families like that. They're just as committed as anything else. And these seasonal kids get blown out of the water. So it's both ways in every sport. If you don't commit, then you'll never be enough.
Yeah, that's the hard lesson of life, I feel like. And it's hard, isn't it? It's for kids and even for us. Like I'm witnessing this every day on a weekly basis, constantly. People coming in, wanting to do it, but unwilling to put the effort in, unwilling to put the hard work, the grit. Where's the grit?
Yeah, it's changed with our culture. Like, you know, our entire nation. You know, the grit has been taken out of our entire nation, in my opinion. So yeah, it's like we have to like soften jiu-jitsu, but then still somehow produce the high level athletes that are known for jiu-jitsu in the past. You know what I mean? That jiu-jitsu like really stood for, like the Hickson Gracies and all these like great people who are obviously just like sink or swim rooms. You know what I mean? Where everyone's just getting beat up, and now we have to like, hey, you don't roll with that person, and oh, that guy's too rough for you. Okay, we'll put him over here. And, you know, Hickson, there was none of that kind of stuff going on in those rooms.
Oh, but now there is. This is my starting. This is my beginning. If you don't like it, if you don't survive, you can go home. And nobody asked us to stay. I mean, you know, I come from Carson Gracie Sr. background, you know, with old men. This is, yeah, the world was very, very different back then, especially on the jiu-jitsu mat, mentally and physically. So it was all about fight, all about survival. Do you think this is going to continue softening in that sense? or at some point is our responsibility as instructors and coaches to develop this tougher crowd, if you will.
It's hard. You see the big lawsuit that happened in California where a black belt was rolling with a white belt, and he does like a rolling back take from turtle. He injures the partner, and then you have Henry Gracie come out and used in that guy's defense to destroy the jiu-jitsu instructor who was rolling with a guy who was like, so what I'm getting at that is it's difficult, right? Like, I don't want to hurt anyone either, like I don't want to hurt anyone and be sued and then be found negligent, so there's that thing looming over us as instructors where it's like, hey, if someone's a high level Division I wrestler and they come into your gym, it doesn't matter if they're wearing a white belt. Like, dude, you're going to have to fight like heck to hold that dude down and finish him. Because regardless of what belt he is, he's a high level grappler. And if I, as a black belt, have to do a rolling back take to finish this Division I wrestler and I injure him, I could be sued. It's like, dude, we have a lot of stuff messing with us, especially here in California. It's weird. So will jiu-jitsu continue to soften? I don't know. Right now, where jiu-jitsu is, most people that come into jiu-jitsu know what they're coming in for, and it's a certain mindset of person. So that's great. And the people that aren't just cut out for it, they tend to just, go their own way. But eventually, they might want their own piece of the pie. So we'll see. Well, they'll be the administrative board on the Olympic Jiu-Jitsu committee. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I was about to, substitute for your friend and play devil's advocate here and and say, but what if we don't cater towards these soft people? Then there will be nobody left to do business, nobody left to fill the classes. That's the opposite argument of this entire topic, right? I mean, this is why things become more, I don't want to use softer, but more accessible, more catered towards the general population who just doesn't want to be tough.
So I changed right after that lawsuit. I added 2 days in the week that I added fundamental programs where they're not sparring in those 2 days. I'm sure it was the same with you, same with me. It was sink or swim. Every single new person off the street came in and you joined right into just one class. There was no advanced or beginner. Everyone was just in there and, it was just sink or swim. Now, in my academy is just like shot up since I've done this, right? On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have an hour class where I'm just going to go on Tuesdays. I'm going to focus on ground stuff. On Thursdays, I'm going to focus on takedown stuff. There's no sparring. We're just going to do drills and work on techniques. And what I find is when a new person comes in off the street, they learn techniques. They kind of figure out a little bit of like what the point of jiu-jitsu is, like how do you play the game before entering sparring, and I have less injuries and I build more confidence in newer people. And it develops kind of that grit and strength in a softer way. And I feel like it could have possibly always been like this. You come in, you start fundamental, and then you grow into that. Now, I think there's a dangerous side of that where you don't let someone spar until blue belt. And you're just going like, no, nobody spars until blue belt. And you got to go through all these weird programs to even be allowed to spar. I don't have that at my gym, but I do kind of have a shallow end of the pool, right? Where there's a deeper end of the pool and there's a shallow end of the pool. And it's up to you where you want to swim in the pool. I don't say, hey, you know what? I think you're ready to go train with the other, but I don't say that. I just, here's the pool, here's the shallow end, here's the deep end. And that has helped my gym a lot.
Yeah. And I think that approach is, I think, viewed by many in that sense, giving people a easy entry point and then allow them to grow. Because ultimately, let me ask you this then, before we start wrapping this up. Is it students' responsibility to have the plan, execution, and know how to go through this process, or is it the instructor's responsibility to guide the student to go through it?
Total accountability on me. All on me. Student has no idea. Student will walk in and go right into an all sparring class and get destroyed and blow out his knee day one if you let him, if you allow them. Right? It's like for 100%. If I take Charlie, who's a day one guy, and I put him against crazy blue belt, Jeff over here, and I know Jeff is crazy and hurts people, and I allow them to face off on this dude's first day, you already know the results. You knew that. So you're the person with kind of all the knowledge of kind of like how people roll, what their games are, everything. And when a new person comes in, you have to structure it so that that person wins. I had a judge come into my gym. He's, high up federal judge, came in kind of out of shape, had a shoulder injury. He goes, look, man, don't want to get hurt on my shoulder. Very concerned about getting hurt on my shoulder. I didn't have the fundamental program at the time that he came in. So he's coming right into like classes with brown belts, black belts, everyone trying to kill each other. And when he came in, I picked his partners for like 6 months. I didn't even allow him to pick a partner, and it was all upper belts. I did not allow him to roll with another white belt who just saw him as food. I rolled all upper belts who I knew understand that concept of like how to roll and be competitive. I'm not talking about flow rolling. I just don't even talk to me about flow rolling. Okay? You still roll, like you're still trying to get each other, but you're not trying to just like rip it and take it from another person. There's that type of flow that I like with my upper belts that we have with one another. Like if we get you dead to rights, it's good, but I'm not going to grab an armbar and absolutely force it and kick you in the face to get it. You know what I mean? Like it's going to have some level of like style and smoothness to it, or I don't want it, And am I opposite in competition? Of course. But anyways, I picked those type of people to roll with this judge for 6 months. And I thought for sure he's going to break off if I don't do this. And I walked him through a level of proficiency until he knew what he was kind of doing and what to expect. And after that 6 months, I did not have to babysit him anymore. He picked his own partners. And he kind of developed a relationship. He knew who was dangerous and who wasn't. And now I don't have to watch him anymore. That dude is now a blue belt, and I see him probably doing this for the rest of his life. But it took a lot of care. If I just would have let him in and just kind of like, yeah, dude, welcome, no shoes on the mats, bow down, whatever, just kind of give him the general and threw him out there, 2 days and he would have been gone. So it's 100% on us as instructors to kind of form a structure. They have no idea who they're going to go with, kind of explain it all,
Yeah, that's important. I think that there's many, obviously this is a somewhat controversial topic and many argue that, but all day, all night, whether there should be or should not be a structure within classes, within the academies. But I do think that you're right. It is the instructor's responsibility to create whatever path you decide for them. They're like kids. They don't know. How can they pick if they don't know any better? Right?
Absolutely.
It's our job to guide them.
If I get a young, like 17, 18-year-old kid who's like in a good spot in their life, like they're going to be around my area for a while, I'm going to take that kid and I'm going to put him on, dude, you're competing, this is what's happening with you. You are 17 years old or 18, 19 years old. You're going to be in the adults division. Give me 5 years of your time. And I promise, dude, you're going to be at some like high level, So I get really excited when I get like the younger ones that are like, they're not going to leave this area for college or whatever, or like get some job or they're not going to be able to train or whatever. I like a young 18-year-old kid who has a job. He's paying for jiu-jitsu himself. He's going to be in this area. I get so excited. That's a totally different path. You're rolling with me every day. I'm going to roll with you every day. And I'm going to make you roll with like good guys. And I'm putting you on like a long path, and then a dude that comes in who's like 50, dude, we're going to reach the best that we could do with your body over time. Longevity, bro. I want you rolling as long as possible. You know what I mean? So that you could see right there that I look at people different when they walk in my door, like 50, dude, you're a hobbyist. If you want to end up doing like Masters 5 or whatever, bro, down the line, cool. No problem. We're happy for you, but that's not your path. Like your path is just to be a great family man, great in your work. Come here. This is your community of dudes. We're all here. We got you. 18-year-old guy, dude, we're trying to go to ADCC. Me and you, bro. I'm going to be in your corner. Like, so I don't know. That's just me,
But that ability to cater towards what people need is really important in order to create these cohesive relationships, right? I mean, this is not, first of all, jiu-jitsu is not cookie cutter. We talked about that. But also each person needs different things. They're in different bodies, different brain, plus different part of their life. So having the same expectations of everybody would be completely unrealistic, wouldn't
it? It would. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's like, I could give one more example and we could move on, like you said, to wrap it up. But say I have an 18-year-old blue belt, or sorry, I have an 18-year-old. He's been training jiu-jitsu since he was 10 years old. Okay, so he's like leaving the kids' ranking system, even though you could drop him out at 16. Let's just say 18, you're like, all right, I'm going to give this guy a blue belt. And then you have like a 50-year-old guy who's been training 2.5 years. And he's kind of at the point where you're like, I'm going to give him a blue belt. And then someone comes up to you and goes, dude, the 18-year-old guy has been training for 8 years. That fool could destroy the 50-year-old Mark blue belt. Yes, but relativity, brother. Mark has been doing it for 2.5 years, and he's at the best version of blue belt that he could make at 50, just period, And this guy's 18 or whatever. He's been doing it this whole time, and he's going to be a blue belt. But it's like, they don't have to be equal in skill, man. One's a 50-year-old blue belt. One's an 18-year-old blue belt, has been doing it for 8 years. It's like, so it's relative across ranking structure too. You can't be like, well, I need this 50-year-old blue belt to be just as good as this kid's been doing it for 8 years. So like, there's a lot of like, as an instructor, feeling that out based on like their personal journey to assign a rank, right?
Yeah. Oh, I feel your pain. Oh, I feel what you're describing. I think that's one of the biggest struggles that a lot of instructors have is like, how do you gauge these things? How do you make it fair? I mean, that's a big one.
That's
it's such a relative term to the person, not to the environment. Like, and you want the best for people. If you reward them too soon, they might quit. They might get discouraged. If you hold them back too long, they might quit. They might get discouraged. So it's not about that. It's about the work and rewarding them for the work within their environment, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And that's exactly what I was touching on.
Chad, thank you for being here. Before we start formally wrapping this up and ending this conversation, so much depth with everything that you talked about. But if anyone wants to connect with you directly as a follow-up to this conversation, and perhaps talk about some of the strategies with achieving some of the goals and of staying focused, where are you found and where is your book available? Because I think that's important that people get their hands on that.
Of course. So Mr. Chad Keel is kind of my handle across social media platforms, kind of just Mr. Chad Keel. So if you want to search me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, I'm there. You can find me. You could reach out. If you're interested in any jiu-jitsu content, I do have an instructional on BJJ Fanatics. We talked about how there's just way too many instructionals out there. I agree. Mine's on a very kind of niche subject. It's on what's called the monoplata. And a monoplata it's like an omoplata, it's like a barato plata, it's like a Toriko plata, but it is its own thing. And I learned it from a high-level jiu-jitsu black belt down at Paulo Gilabel's way back when I was a blue belt. And then I just kind of like I said, you get good at a technique and you build a funnel. So you can get that technique basically from anywhere. I share how to get that technique from almost anywhere. It is a missing piece in a lot of people's game. I also have an instructional on pistol grip arm bars. Anytime you get an arm bar where the arm's tucked under your armpit, some people will call it a shotgun arm bar, pistol grip arm bar. It's a great arm bar. It's a sneaky arm bar. So if you want that type of content, it's there. My books, just search Chad Keel on Amazon. I have 4 or 5 books that are available there. One's on being a great sports parent. So if you're a parent listening to this and you're struggling with keeping your kids motivated within a sport or a hobby, I wrote an entire book on that. I'm very passionate about that. I have 3 kids. 2 of them are already high-level grapplers, kind of winning in wrestling and jiu-jitsu and everything. And I think that's really because of what me and my wife are doing. And trust me, my kids tell me they don't want to do this all the time, but they're still doing it and they're winning. And I'll show you how to be successful with that. And then, yeah, man, the survival stuff, you could check out naturereconnection.org. That's my nonprofit. We do work in Pakistan, California, all over the world. So feel free to join us on a worldly adventure if you want to.
And as always, guys, we'll add all of the links in the show notes of this episode. So if you didn't catch any of this, make sure you scroll down, you click, you connect with Chad directly if you have questions. What an amazing resource. Chad, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being vulnerable and talk about some of the deep personal things and your story and really sharing some of the wisdom that you got in your head. I do believe that many people need that these days. I think we are softer than we used to be. No judgment, but I think that makes it hard for us doing jiu-jitsu. And the ability to have grit, develop grit, and keep pushing through it and keep solving, being intentional, being purposeful in life, often is underestimated. And I think that's really what you talked about and touched on this afternoon on this episode. So I appreciate you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I would just conclude just saying that I'm definitely standing on the shoulders of giants. I want to definitely tip my hat towards, like I said, my sensei, Paulo Guilabel, and just all the amazing male mentorship that I've had in my life, and female. My mom's obviously the person that found the ad to put me into jiu-jitsu, like we talked about. So I have a lot of people to thank, like if it wasn't for elders above me, kind of pointing me in the right direction and having opening ears to listen to other people's input, I definitely wouldn't be as far. And then finally, God, because he is the person that I focus on the most and where all my kind of like motivation comes from.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here. Let's wrap it up for today.
Sir. Great conversation. Thank you. Thank you. You're a great host.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.